Today guys, we're a bit late on it, but it is still an ongoing story. I wanted to talk about the whole Thatcher Demko Vancouver Canucks situation. I've tried to record this video a few times and each time I've kind of failed, as there's a lot of information around it, but not a lot of confirmed information. So I want to go over all of that and talk about, injuries, how the Canucks have been managing injuries and all of that stuff. Because obviously, this is an NHL channel. We're talking mostly about, the video game NHL, but here and there, I would like to talk about big NHL news or big Vancouver Canucks news, especially as a Vancouver Canucks fan. So let's get straight into it, talking about the injury. So the report that really made me want to talk about this was by Elliot Friedman. That's where you're going to get most of the reliable information on this case. Just letting you know, as of yesterday, still new, he still is saying that he's not 100% sure what is going on with this situation, as like I said, the Canucks organization and a lot of organizations like to be very secretive when it comes to injuries, especially to big players. Now, whether or not that's because they don't know themselves what's going on or if they want to maintain their players' value, you never really know. There's 1,000 reasons for why they might want to maintain the information, keep it secret, that will benefit themselves. So we still 100% don't know what's going on, but it's sounding to me like Thatcher Demko has an injury or has built up injuries over the past couple of years that are now going to be affecting the rest of his career. Now, what does that mean for Demko? That means we're probably going to look at a Demko who's more injury prone than he already is, which is very concerning. We're also looking at a Demko who might not be able to play at his best ever again. That's just the nature of how these knee injuries work. They're brutal. We've seen many goalies go down with the knee injuries and have their careers ended because of knee injuries. Just Carey Price and Corey Schneider, to name a few. Naturally, I and many other Canucks fans are very concerned, as Demko kinda is our ace, I would say. This team really goes as far as Demko goes. If Demko had been healthy, call me biased, I think the Canucks could have made it all the way up to the Stanley Cup final. Whether or not they win, I don't know. But you saw how good the team was without him. Just imagine how good they would be with him. Now, if we go back a year or two to the Kuzmenko season, his initial season, you can see how much it hurts when we miss Demko for a large portion of the season, as we missed the playoffs. Now, talking about this season is a bit more interesting, as we have a bit more of optimism and someone else to look up to, which is Artur Silovs, who played really solid in the playoffs. Now, I personally think he's getting a bit overrated. I've seen him now on the top of prospect rankings for the Canucks, saying that he's our best prospect, all of this stuff. Listen, I think he has the potential to be a starter in the NHL, and that's great. But whether or not he has that elite potential, I don't know. Now, obviously, great showing in the playoffs once again, but he hasn't shown anything really in the regular season or really much in the AHL yet, as his numbers, I would say, have been pretty mediocre. So going into this year, probably the backup goalie. The question is going to be, how much does he play? How much is he going to help Demko, take the load off Demko? And how well does he play heading into this year? And like many people, I'm still optimistic about Silovs, but it's kind of a wait and see thing for me, in my opinion. Whether or not, is he going to be that next guy for this organization? Because past Silovs, there's not too much there, at least that I'm aware of. There is a goalie who just played in the prospect tournament the other night. I think his name is Tolopilo or something. It's a tough name. It's a tough read, but he actually put up a shutout, and I thought he looked really, really solid the other night, really confident in his net. I know he's a big boy too. He's 6'6" or something crazy. So maybe there is that to look forward to in terms of the prospects of the future, but beyond that, again, I don't think there's much there. Obviously, if Demko's career gets cut short or anything like that does happen, it's going to be really tough for the Canucks. Obviously tough for Demko. You would feel really bad for him. Just such a competitor and great goalie. Basically, since he's came into the league, he has just been elite. I guess the last kind of thing I want to talk about, well, I guess I'll mention this quickly, is that, yeah, in the event, he goes down, if his career does come to an end shorter than we would have hoped, or sooner than we would have hoped. I hope that, he gets offered the opportunity to come into the Canucks organization in some type of staff role if that's something he's interested in. Or, I would hope the Canucks honestly give him a shot or give him real consideration at Ring of Honor and stuff like that, just because he's been that good. Very, very possibly could have taken home the Vezina had he been healthy, fully healthy, but just a great goalie all around. His goals save against expected is crazy. The way he can just steal many games, it's really just, he's such an X factor for this Canucks team. But moving on to a more broad topic in terms of the Canucks injuries, I really do wonder if there is mismanagement going on with Canucks injuries. For those of you who don't know, Pettersson has actually been dealing with a lingering injury. I don't know what the state of that injury is. I'm assuming he's healthy now, or I would hope so. But towards the end of the later half of the season, actually, I would say the last half of the season, he was dealing with a lingering, I think, knee injury or something like that. It's the knee injuries, man. They always get the Canucks. Don't quote me on that. He had a lingering injury that was really affecting his play, and his stats reflected it. He fell off really hard in the second half and had I think it's safe to say, a terrible playoffs. So it makes you really wonder how they're managing these injuries. Personally, if it was a case of, if they sat him and let him rest, he could have been, 100% or closer to 100% for the playoffs. Obviously, I would say, why not take that route, especially when the team was pretty safely in a playoff spot. And that's kind of the same question I have for Demko, who might have been dealing with lingering injuries, getting rushed back in the playoffs just to get re-injured again, what effect that might have on his career and stuff like that. At the end of the day, whether or not it's up to the player or the coaching staff to make the final call on whether or not a player should play, it's difficult. Obviously, players are very competitive. They always want to play any game they can, even if they're crawling onto the ice. I know they'll do it. So I think it's up to the staff really to especially watch out for those star players with the lingering past injury problems to make sure that they're staying healthy for the long term, because I think that's a lot more important, especially someone's long-term health rather than, a single playoff run. Or obviously the players also have that responsibility to take themselves out for their own health. But again, I think the final say falls on the staff, and the staff, they should make those decisions for the players and their health, especially going forward. Now, that kind of covers everything I want to talk about. Again, there's so much unknown about the situation. I wish I could give a more proper report of the situation, but it's so in the air. A lot of this is going to be wait and see. How good is Demko going to play while playing, with his lingering injuries? Is he going to still be injury prone moving forward, missing huge chunks of the season? Could this result in an early retirement? What does that mean for the Canucks organization in net as a team who's, I think it's pretty safe to say, is trying to win now? Like they just made the playoffs, got the game 7 against Edmonton, who took the Panthers to 7. I don't think anyone's arguing that this isn't a playoff contender or a cup contender, but Demko's really a big part of that. So what will this team do moving forward? Do we have to pick up a goalie sooner rather than later? Are we going to be looking to draft more goalies? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. And I just hope moving forward that this team makes the right calls with the injuries, because I've really liked this management and I think they've made a lot of really good calls. Have they made a couple bad moves? Sure. But what organization hasn't? But most of it I think has been really good. But this could be the story for this management if this all goes wrong, the mismanagement of the injuries that ended up sinking what could have been a cup contender. If you enjoyed the video, just give it a like, subscribe. Until next time, guys, take care of yourselves.